If you want to get more closely acquainted with Vergil's doppelganger mechanic, I strongly encourage you to watch my first video, which is basically this doppelganger guide, where I go very in-depth into the basics, the rudimentary aspects of this mechanic. The link to that video will be in the description below, so yeah. So first things first, before I start talking about the combo and the mistakes you can make and all that jazz, I should preface this by talking about my controls. So I play this game using my mouse and keyboard. Yeah, really. Blasphemy, I know. But I think that if you've ever played a single game on your PC using a mouse and a keyboard, these controls should be familiar to you. I think they're very easy to grasp. So, just like with almost every game ever, WASD are the keys you use for movement. So W is forward, S is backwards, A is left, D is right. This is the equivalent to you using your analog stick for moving, like tilting it left, right, forward, backward. That's basically what I use. So again, W forward, S backward, A left, D right. Obviously, just like in every game ever, space is jump. So I jump using space. The left mouse button, unsurprisingly, is the attack button. Also, like in every game ever. The right mouse button is the button I use for Mirage Blades. So all my Mirage Blade attacks are mapped to the right button. The right mouse button, I mean. So that's basically it for these basic controls. Shift is the button I use for locking on. So when I lock on, I press Shift. In this game, you gotta be locked on for just about any attack ever. Only under specific circumstances should you release the lock on. But yeah, basically lock on is Shift in my case. So next up, we've got the trick action. So, trick up, down, air trick, all that stuff. I use E. So E is the button I use. So if I press E without locking on, that is trick up. If I press E while locking on, like Shift plus E, that is air trick, and I teleport. If I press back to forward plus E, or S plus W plus E, that is trick down. So like I said, E is the trick action. That's the button I use for tricking, basically. R is the button I use for taunting. So that's the taunt button. Air taunts, lock-on taunts, doesn't matter. R is the button you gotta press for taunting. Moving on, I have F, and F is the button I use to charge my Sindel trigger. So I press and hold F, then I release it, and I basically go into my Sindel trigger mode. Moving on, we also have 1 and 2. So 1 is the button for changing the weapon to the right. So my layout is as follows. I use the default layout for my weapons, my arsenal. So it goes Yamato, Beowulf, Mirage Edge. So if I have the Yamato equipped and I press 1, it will switch to Beowulf, which is the weapon to its right. And if I press 1 again, it will switch from Beowulf to the Mirage Edge, which is the weapon to its right. If I have the Yamato equipped, and I press 2, it will go to the weapon that's on its left, and that is the Mirage Edge. If I press 2 again, it will switch to Beowulf. If I press 2 again, it will once again switch to the Yamato. So that's how this works. We're switching weapons left and right. That's how it works. Moving on, we have the doppelganger buttons. So the buttons are as follows. X is the slow doppelganger. This is a doppelganger that is kind of delayed by about, I don't know, half a second or something. So that's X. C is the normal doppelganger. He is slightly delayed, not by half a second, but like he's just not completely in sync with you. So that's C. And V is the haste version of the doppelganger who is completely in sync with you, meaning that he immediately reacts to your commands and he mimics your inputs. He registers them immediately and simply reacts to them. So, yeah. I deactivate the doppelganger by pressing Z. So that's how I do it. And, you know, that's pretty much that. Those are all the controls, really. There are some other things like, you know, using CTRL to basically lock onto multiple targets, or, I mean, switch the lock on, stuff like that. Or using the arrows, using, you know, it just doesn't matter, really. These are the main things that you will need. So, if I say I'm pressing D plus left mouse button, that means that I'm pressing right plus attack button. If I say I'm pressing S plus W plus left mouse button, that means I'm pressing back to forward plus attack button. Kind of like tilting your analog stick back and then forward and then pressing the attack button. So that's how it works. If I say back to forward plus right mouse button, or S plus W plus right mouse button, that is basically back to forward plus your Mirage Blade button. So heavy rain blades in my case. But don't worry, most of the time, like 99% of the time, I'll say right plus attack button instead of D plus left mouse button, because I feel like that's more universally comprehensible, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, these are my controls, and now let's talk about the actual combo. Alright, so now let's talk about the Graveyard combo. The Graveyard combo is a combo by Devil Hunters Indonesia, and it's this combo called Power. And basically, I kind of improvised at the very end. I didn't use the Blistering Blades while using Lunar Phase for the second time, because there was no need to do that. And also, you know, I summoned the Doppelganger, then did this double rapid slash. So I kind of improvised, you know, with the Doppelganger part, because that wasn't in the original combo. So, yeah. So first of all, you need to be in your Sin DT. That's the first thing. You need to have the Blistering Blades active, which means that, you know, inputting the Blistering Blades for me is D plus right mouse button, or right plus Mirage Blade button, whatever that is in your case. So you keep holding the right mouse button, you keep holding the Blistering Blades, and you don't release the right mouse button until it's time to release it, alright? So you activate the Blistering Blades, you keep holding the Mirage Blade button, the right mouse button, and you use /1 with the Yamato, the version that only launches the enemy into the air and not Vergil himself. Now you immediately use Trig Down, and now you use Rapid Slash, and at this point you release the Blistering Blades. You release the right mouse button, or well, the Mirage Blade button. Now you use Air Trick and teleport to the enemy, you switch to Beowulf, and you use Lunar Phase. As you're using Lunar Phase, you press right plus Mirage Blade button, or well, D plus right mouse button in my case, and you keep holding the Mirage Blade button, you keep holding the right mouse button, and you do Storm Blades. And make sure, just like with the Blistering Blades, you keep holding the Mirage Blade button, you keep holding the right mouse button, you don't want to deactivate them just yet. So, once you're done using Lunar Phase, you use Starfall with Beowulf. Now, you wait for the enemy to lose a lot of altitude, or even hit the ground altogether. So, you wait for the enemy to lose altitude, you switch to the Mirage Edge, and you use High Time 2. And this launched Vergil into the air alongside the enemy. It's imperative that you wait for the enemy to lose altitude, or hit the ground even, before you decide to use High Time. Because if you don't wait for the enemy to lose altitude, once you use High Time, you won't be able to properly enemy step, you won't be able to jump cancel your Helmbreaker, because the enemy will be too high up in the air, or you will be too far away from the enemy. This can be really tricky. It really takes a lot of muscle memory to get this jump canceling down. Like here you can see how I actually waited for the enemy to lose altitude, and then I used High Time, and as a result, Vergil and the enemy here are on the same altitude, and Vergil is really close to the enemy. So when I press space, when I press jump, I can actually jump cancel my Helmbreaker. Whereas here, I didn't wait for the enemy to lose altitude, and when I used High Time, you can see that the enemy was actually at a higher altitude than Vergil. He was higher up in the air, and not only that, but the gap between Vergil and the enemy was also bigger. You can see that Vergil and the enemy are farther apart here when I didn't wait for the enemy to lose altitude. And as a result, I couldn't properly jump cancel my Helmbreaker, because jump canceling requires you to be very close to the enemy. That's literally how it works, which is why you gotta do this. Now, you use Helmbreaker. Helmbreaker is just pressing the attack button while you're in midair. But now, as soon as you basically press the attack button, you press jump plus air stinger. So you want to jump cancel, you want to enemy step, and enemy stepping is just you press space, you press jump. So you press jump and you press right plus attack button to do the air stinger. So just look at my commands. This is what I do. I press the attack button to use Helmbreaker. I immediately cancel Helmbreaker by using enemy step, by using jump cancel, and I basically press right plus attack button to use air stinger. And just to get this out of the way, once again, if you don't jump cancel, if you don't enemy step while using Helmbreaker, you'll simply do a full-on Helmbreaker and you'll pin the enemy to the ground, which is not what you want. You want to cancel it like this, and it's very simple. You simply press jump while using Helmbreaker, and that's it. And then you just do an air stinger, which is right plus attack button. It's that simple. And in all this time, you keep holding the Mirage Blade button. You keep holding the right mouse button because you don't want the Storm Blades to launch the enemy into the air just yet. Now, as soon as the enemy is on the ground and I'm using Air Stinger, I basically have two options. I can use Trick Down twice, like here and here, or I can use Air Trick and then Trick Down. As you can see here, there is literally no difference. Air Trick will teleport to the enemy who is on the ground, and then if you follow that up with Trick Down, Vergil will do this backdash. But doing Trick Down while you're in midair will definitely still teleport you to the ground, and if you follow it up with another Trick Down, you will do a backdash. So it's up to you. After using Air Stinger, you can do Trick Down twice, or you can use Air Trick and then Trick Down. It literally makes no difference. Now, you basically release the Storm Blades, you release the right mouse button, or well, the Mirage Blade button, and you use Rapid Slash with the Yamato. You switch to the Yamato and you use Rapid Slash. Immediately after that, you don't waste any time. You use Air Trick again to teleport to the enemy who is in midair, and you switch to Beowulf and you use Lunar Phase again. Because believe me, if you wait too long to use Air Trick to teleport to the enemy after using Rapid Slash, this will happen. Vergil will simply, teleport to the enemy, and he'll try to do Lunar Phase, but he'll fail. Now, you switch to the Mirage Edge, and you use Helmbreaker again. Now you use Drive, and now you immediately use Air Trick again to teleport to the enemy. You switch to the Yamato, and you use Aerial Cleave. Now you use Void Slash, and that's kind of like the first part of the combo. It's not really the first half, it's like most of the combo, but here comes the tricky part, which I'm going to explain right now. So, first of all, now you summon the slow version of the Doppelganger, right? The one that's delayed. And let me explain why. Okay, so first of all, I need to explain how Rapid Slash works. So, if you're on the left side and you press right plus attack button, Vergil will use Rapid Slash. If you're on the right side, Rapid Slash is the left plus attack button. But as you can see, you gotta wait for Vergil to sheath his sword before you can do another Rapid Slash. And this is how it is in base form. But when you're in Sin Double Trigger, you can spam Rapid Slash infinitely. This is not me exaggerating things. You can literally spam it infinitely for 80 years. There's literally no limit. So, another thing that's kind of worth keeping in mind when you're in Sin DT and you decide to do a Rapid Slash is, once you do a Rapid Slash, immediately after the Rapid Slash, you can see how this one Mirage Blade embeds itself into the enemy, and as soon as Vergil sheathes his sword, this Mirage Blade that embedded itself into the enemy causes the enemy to get launched into the air. So that's one thing that's really important to know when you're in Sin DT and you do a Rapid Slash. So, alright, so now that we've gotten that out of the way, you might be wondering, why are we using the slow version of the Doppelganger? Why don't we use Haste? Well, this would happen if we were to use the Haste version of the Doppelganger. Vergil will do Rapid Slash with him, but that's not what we want. We want the zigzag thing. We don't want them to be synchronized. Okay, so, again, let's go back. You use Void Slash, and you basically summon the slow version of the Doppelganger, and you immediately use Rapid Slash 4 times. So it's like right plus attack button, left plus attack button, right plus attack button, left plus attack button. And after that final rapid slash, you make sure to change the Doppelganger's mode from slow to haste. You can see how the Doppelganger basically flickers here. It's because we changed his mode. That's an indicator. So why change his mode? Well, if you don't change the Doppelganger's mode, this will happen. If you just keep it slow, like, he will go back to your position. He will fully do rapid slash with you. And you want him to stay there after that last slash. You don't want him to come back to your position, right? So that's why you do the rapid slash 4 times, and after that final rapid slash, you change the Doppelganger's mode from slow to haste. And you simultaneously, while you're doing this, you input the heavy rain blades, which is like back to forward plus Mirage Blade button, or S plus W plus right mouse button in my case, and you make sure that the enemy is frozen in time and space. After this, you basically, wait for Vergil and his Doppelganger to finish sheathing their swords, and you use Yamato Combo A. And Vergil and his Doppelganger will basically do this, double X slash thing, and it looks really fucking cool, right? So that's kind of like the end of the combo. And you might be wondering, alright, so what's so tricky about this? I don't see what's so tricky about this. Well, let me explain. There are 2 things that are really worth keeping in mind when it comes to this part of the combo. Alright, so one mistake that can happen, it's not very common, but I'll get it out of the way before I start talking about the actual very common mistakes. So sometimes while doing this quadruple rapid slash, Vergil ends up doing Void Slash with his Doppelganger, and I'm like, why? And I think I know why. So since we're using Rapid Slash, we are constantly pressing right plus attack button, left plus attack button, right plus attack button, left plus attack button, right? So, as you already know, when you're on the left side and you press left plus right plus attack button, that is Void Slash. So it's very likely that at this point, I pressed, left and right plus attack button too fast somehow, and the game registered a Void Slash instead of, a Rapid Slash. Because like I said, we keep using these Rapid Slashes like left, right, so we keep pressing left plus attack button, right plus attack button. But what if the game registered this as left plus right plus attack button, and, Vergil ended up using a Void Slash instead. So I think that's actually what's going on here. I don't know, but that's my assumption. Pretty sure that's the case, but it doesn't really matter because this is not a very common issue. It happened like 20 times, yeah, but it's not nearly as common as the issues I'm going to talk about right now. So, in practice, well, in theory, this segment, this Doppelganger segment, should be pretty easy. Like I said, theoretically speaking, it should be easy. You just summon the slow version of the Doppelganger, you use a quadruple Rapid Slash, you change the Doppelganger's mode, you use the Heavy Rain Blades to freeze the enemy, and you use Yamato Combo A. Very simple, right? Well, if only it were just, like, oh man, it's so annoying. Like, alright, so first of all, the first issue that can happen is the Heavy Rain Blades. So, you know how I told you how after using Rapid Slash while you're in Cindy ET, this one Mirage Blade embeds itself into the enemy, and it launches the enemy into the air when Vergil sheathes his sword. Yeah, that is exactly why we need to use the Heavy Rain Blades, so that the enemy doesn't get launched into the air, so that they would stay in that one spot, so that we could hit them with the Yamato Combo A, right? But here's what happens. Sometimes, even though the Heavy Rain Blades hit the enemy, they still get launched into the air, which makes absolutely no sense. And I don't know what this depends on. I'm really sorry. From what I can tell, and this is like I'm pretty sure this is the case, you need to input the Heavy Rain Blades really, really early. Like, as soon as you're done using that final hit of Rapid Slash, like, as soon as you're done using it, you immediately use the Heavy Rain Blades and make sure that they somehow freeze the enemy in space before they get launched into the air somehow. I don't know what this depends on, though. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't. If you look at this thing right here, like, when it doesn't work, when this whole thing doesn't work, and when the enemy gets launched into the air because of that one Mirage Blade, Vergil and the Doppelganger cannot use the combo. Look at this. Like, they're using Yamato Combo A, but the enemy is too high up in the air, so they can't even hit them. They can't hit the enemy. And here you can see they can hit the enemy with the first 2 hits, but the last hit doesn't connect because the enemy was too high up in the air. And that is so annoying. This kept happening, and it kept happening, and it just kept happening. And it's actual insanity. I have no idea. Like, I mean, I know why this happens. Like, I'm pretty sure I know why this happens. Like I said, I tested this out when I used Rapid Slash with Vergil alone, without the Doppelganger, and I noticed a pattern. Like, if you look at here, like, if you look at this particular segment, you can notice that the sooner I input the Heavy Rain Blades, the better. Like, every time I input the Heavy Rain Blades early, the enemy gets frozen in time, which is what we want. But if I take my time, the enemy gets launched into the air. So that is something that you need to keep in mind. But then it dawned on me, like, this can't be it. Because, like, if you look at all these segments where I do this quadruple Rapid Slash with the Doppelganger, in all of these failed attempts, I did not misinput the Heavy Rain Blades. I input them very early. It wasn't a timing-related issue. I input them very early on, and it still doesn't work, right? So, like, you can clearly see that, you know, the Mirage Blade embeds itself into the enemy, and then the Heavy Rain Blades basically freeze the enemy, they hit the enemy, but they still get launched. I seriously have no idea. Like, it's a complete enigma to me right now. I'm sure there's something, but I have no idea what it is. A possibility that I would like to take into account is, you know how when you summon the Doppelganger and you're very close to the enemy, what can happen is, well, I mean, what happens is the Doppelganger will launch the enemy into the air when they're summoned. And if you use Rapid Slash very fast, you can prevent the enemy from gaining too much altitude. So maybe the key is to use Rapid Slash incredibly fast, like almost as soon as the Doppelganger, like before he's even formed, right? But here's the thing, if you use Rapid Slash too fast, like before the Doppelganger is fully formed, what can happen is the Doppelganger might end up not moving. Like, they just stand still, stay in one place. So I genuinely don't have a solution to this, and I still don't even know if that has anything to do with this. Another issue that can occur with this combo that is so incredibly common that it literally made me give up on the whole combo altogether. And it's this: even if the combo works perfectly, and you freeze the enemy in time, 9 times out of 10, I shit you not, 9 times out of 10, this will happen. Vergil and the Doppelganger will do the first 2 hits of Yamato Combo A perfectly, and then the last hit will somehow work like this. Like, Vergil and the Doppelganger will hit the enemy from the same side. It won't be that X slash. And that kills the whole purpose of the combo. Because the whole purpose of this combo is to flex that cool X slash. It's the aesthetic, right? That's what we're going for. And when you have this, it just looks ridiculous, right? It doesn't look cool. And I have no idea how to control this. I genuinely don't. It seems to be an issue with the distance between the Doppelganger and Vergil and the enemy. And I genuinely have no idea how to influence that. It almost seems random. The only way for me to get this right was to keep retrying the combo until it somehow worked. It seems to have to do with the enemy's altitude, with the distance between Vergil and the enemy, and the Doppelganger and the enemy. So it's completely weird. I have no idea how to explain it. And tell you what, even this issue is related to the Heavy Rain Blade's altitude issue. I'm not even joking at this point. Like, if the enemy is at a low altitude, if they're really close to the ground, you're 9 times more likely to land this X slash as opposed to when the enemy is higher up in the air, as you can see here. I just don't know what to say. Like, I literally have no idea. I just don't know how to control this. So I think it goes without saying that this combo took me an insufferable amount of time, and I made so many mistakes, like muscle memory mistakes, inadvertently and arbitrarily. So I'm not going to include those because, those are on me and my brain, or well, lack thereof. So, yeah, but there was this mistake I would make, like, I would simply, not release the blistering blades in time, or, like, I would release them too late, and the enemy would already be on the ground. So that's definitely something that you gotta keep in mind. I also made a lot of mistakes with, like, using trig down for some reason. So, yeah, I don't really know what to say, man.